Orcs Must Die 3 is almost a reinvention of what Orcs Must Die as a franchise is, whilst impressively managing to keep its identity and fun gameplay. If you were, like the vast majority of players, going only from mainline games, then the story is accessible enough, sticking to the previous game's structure of don't think, kill orcs, but also leaving just enough gaps in how the protagonists got to this point that Unchained used to fill in. Whilst it doesn't iterate enough for me in terms of enemy variations in the wave-to-wave format, it adds in a whole new mode in the war scenario that has you face down hundreds of orcs in truly epic battles that they don't lean heavily enough on, adding in new massive traps that truly make the Horde, for the first time ever, feel like a Horde. 8 out of 10.
Come, playtime is over.
It was rough going for Orcs Must Die for a while. The last mainline title before this was in 2012, and with Orcs Must Die Unchained never really hitting its stride, it seemed for a long time that Orcs Must Die as a franchise was dead. Luckily, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, Google Stadia stepped in and funded the development of the title for it to be a timed exclusive. I genuinely think that this game's existence is the only good thing to come from Google Stadia. It's also a monkey paw situation. I was so ready when the trailer was released and so bummed when it was on Stadia. I did actually get a Stadia account and got the game for free when they were doing some kind of offer and played it for a while, but I didn't have the console and the web app thing they were testing sucked ass. It wouldn't be until 2021, nearly a decade after the first game and 9 years since a numbered installment, that it came to Steam, packaged with its first DLC and just before its second. I've not played as much Orcs Must Die 3 simply because nobody wants to play it with me. And even more than the second game, the third really wants you to play together. That's not a bad thing, because I played through all of it for this video with a friend, and it was fun as hell. Having somebody to cover your back and place traps with is just as fun as it was in Orcs Must Die 2. Even more so now, because there are more options for weapons and traps, and the map feels more tailored to the co-op experience. It does yuck the yum of the single player experience a little bit. I literally couldn't get past the Master's Courtyard level for like a whole year because I sucked so hard at it. I had to shamefully lower the difficulty to get through it, and I still haven't got it past it on my own in the War Mage difficulty. In large though, the game really does play like the first two games, despite it being on new engine, which, okay, Orcs Must Die 3 does look different, the environments are more detailed, the effects are a lot better, and I hate how the elementals just look like generic fucking idiots rather than the cute dogs they used to be. Largely though, the enemies that matter in the orcs, ogres, kobolds and gnolls look essentially identical. It's like watching one of the original Star Wars films today. They've changed the colour grading, added in new details to make it look better, but every now and then there'll be some idiot thing George wanted that ruins it and makes you angry. I like how it looks though. I think they've done a really good job maintaining the style of the first two games with a refreshed kind of art style, which is honestly what Orcs Must Die 3 feels like on the whole, a refresh. The War Mage is now named Maximilian and the Sorceress Gabriella, and there is now deep lore around the Mentor, now named Cygnus, and a new elf guy called Vorwick, who is like the new main bad guy. He's a little generic, very shouty, but I did find it funny how they were really working in some deep lore for the game. I love it, and I would like more lore, please. The two new heroes are Kelsey and Egan, who are the proteges of the old heroes in this new War Mage order. Papa Max is missing, so they gotta defend the rifts, defeat Vorwick, and make money. That last part is unclear, but the first two are pretty clear. The Horde remains mostly the same from the second to third entries, with the only addition being the Fire Fiends, which are essentially fire-resistant orcs. They're awful, and I hate them, but they really do stop you from being reliant on that tar trap, fire arrow, wall combo. I mean, it still works 95% of the time, but they're the reason I struggle with maps like Master's Courtyard, because there are so many of them. I also like the addition of the Fire Elementals as well. I don't think they're new, because I'm pretty sure they were DLC from the second game, but I liked how the little filings do damage to the barricade and explode. It's a nice little change. The big new thing is the war scenario, which I cannot praise enough. They're massive in scope and give you a ton of new challenges in how you handle so many orcs at once. The archer banks are super cool, and I love how they juiced up the paladin to make him this nearly unstoppable tank. It's honestly amazing, and I wish they went further, had more war scenario maps, and had some bigger and more crazy traps. Giant spike traps would have been fun, or like a bottomless tar trap or something. I feel like this was the big innovation of this game, and it wasn't fully capitalized like Co-op in 2 was. The bosses at the end of each war scenario are really good though. That little challenge, bending the rules and forcing you to engage more actively and focus on a high-powered enemy. I wish they did more of them. The DLC once again looks to be the same. I haven't played it. I didn't get to play Drastic Steps or Cold as Ice because my friend who played it with me had something called a life and just couldn't sit around playing video games all day or something. Quite frankly, rude. Either way, it looks to follow the same format as the previous two. New enemies, new traps, new weapons, new maps. The Tipping Scales one does look fun though. The lizard enemies look really new, and it's the only one I actually haven't got, so I'll need to get that and play it because I want that cool little mini handgun thing they've got. Either way, Orcs Must Die 3 is essentially a return to form after a stumble in Unchained. It graphically refreshes and adds lore details to the universe, while also adding in just enough new stuff to make it feel brand new in terms of traps, weapons and abilities. It feels like it should be just the start of a new era of Orcs Must Die games, unlike Orcs Must Die 2 that felt like a complete culmination of everything in the first. If this had more maps, I would call it the most complete, but as it goes, I would call it an incredibly fun time.
They were children. They still had much to learn. But this day, they became war mages.
Max? Kids! I found you! No, don't worry, you're safe. Looks like old Maxie saves the day again.